As you may or may not know, Janna has recently gone through some changes. Not those kind of changes. Riot decided that they didn't enjoy the fact that old Janna felt less like an enchanter and more like a point-and-click bot in her previous state. So instead, they shifted a lot of her power away from her W and put it back into other things like her Q and her E. This new build high elo players are running thanks to these changes seems almost unfair and has put Janna into a disgustingly high win rate in the support role that makes her carries look almost completely unkillable. And alongside that comes people trying her out in new ways and with new builds, so I brought back a fan favorite challenger player from our Silas support video to find out how the pros are doing it. The player we're analyzing today, for the second time, is known on the EUW ladder as Humongous Dongus, an EUW challenger support who is currently one of the best and highest ranked Janna players in the world. When I covered Dongus last, I couldn't find any information on him, but we have since connected on Twitter thanks to one of you guys sending him the video. Thanks y'all for getting us in contact, but I do have to break the bad news that Dongus isn't his true gamer tag. His real tag is LittlePants. LittlePants started playing League in Season 3 after some of his Minecraft friends told him to try it out. He was just around the age of 14 at the time, and he started playing in the mid lane, bouncing between two accounts with two different groups of friends of different skill levels. It wasn't until Season 4 that he switched to support, and he really has never looked back, quickly moving into Platinum in both Season 4 and 5, where he got his first taste of organized League of Legends. He mostly played in small tournaments, winning a mouse or a keyboard, but even being invited to South Africa for a tournament that was for cash that ultimately his mom didn't let him attend because he was too young. He made it to Diamond in Season 6 before life took over and he started having to focus on school and a job as a mechanic. Still playing League more casually in Season 7 through 9, it wasn't really until last year, Season 2020, when he left his job because of some scummy business practices to attempt to seriously pursue League again. He was invited to his first true semi-pro League of Legends team last year after grinding out games between making Uber Eats deliveries to make ends meet. So far, he's already played for 4 teams, currently on a Greek team of the name Anorthosis Esports, making small amounts of money in hopes to get scouted for the LEC one day. He picked up Janna last season after hearing the legendary tales of the toxic apocalypse from L9 and has used her and some of his other mainstays and some off metas like Silas support to reach challengers several times now. As of recording this video, he's currently ranked number 65 on the EUW ladder with 743 LP and has a 64% win rate on Janna support, where he continues to climb higher and higher to this day. While Janna is comparatively stronger than she once was, not all of her problems are gone with the wind. For one, she's still just as squishy as she's always been, and one slight instance of CC can mean the difference of life and death for her. Janna's damage is even lower with the changes, so if you just watched my last video on Malphite support, this is gonna feel like whiplash. She's very reliant on her team to follow up on her abilities or peel, so in lower elos, she can feel unrewarding to play. And finally, and most importantly, Janna's favorite game is Twister, which is honestly just a terrible choice. What an awkward game. But even with all these potential problems, LittlePants has found a way to make it work. In laning phase and throughout the game as Janna, it's a bit of a hit and run. If you're against an aggressive support, it will benefit you more to play slow and use your abilities to peel for your ADC or while the enemy's important abilities are on cooldown. Against enchanters like Yuumi, you may be better off being a bit more aggressive and using your tornado and other abilities to try to make plays. Regardless of your laning opponents though, your laning phase is going to heavily depend on your effectiveness of landing Janna's Q or Howling Gale. Howling Gale is both a strong peeling and engage ability that can easily be the reason you win or lose fights. Now, thanks to the changes, Howling Gale is much faster than it used to be. About 20% faster to be exact. That means that at long range, when it's fully charged, this thing is zooming to its target. And at short range, when you recast it quickly, it's much harder to sidestep than before. But even still, this is Janna's bread and butter, so enemies are heavily expecting LittlePants to throw it down regularly in the early game, so he taught me some tricks on how to hit it more often. One thing I didn't know is the visibility of Janna's tornado is based on her own visibility. So if you cast Q and you're in a brush that has no ward in it and leave the brush, the enemy will be able to see your tornado charging up. But if you cast your Q from inside the brush and don't leave or auto attack something to make yourself visible, the enemy will not be able to see it charging and be more likely to get hit by it. You can abuse several areas of the bot lane and throughout the map with this knowledge. Start experimenting in the river, the alcove, or across walls in bot lane to catch your opponents off guard. And also, when it's fully charged charged after 3 seconds, the range of the tornado is crazy long. From this position, you can hit the enemy turret. From this position, you can hit your own turret, and there's so many more options throughout the whole map and in the whole game. It's good to know that tornadoes from long range are super effective, but it's not necessary to have to hit long range tornadoes to make plays any longer, thanks to the new runes both LittlePants and other high elo players are using. Glacial Augment, as we know from our previous video, is a strong option in Season 12 for many supports, and now with the Janna changes, it seems to be her best rune choice by a mile. One reason for that is because, like we just mentioned, her Howling Gale is faster and easier to hit. It's by far the longest range normal ability in the game that can proc Glacial Augment, and compared to other supports like Zyra or Ahri, it's much easier to land. The second reason it's so strong on Janna is because they switched the passive on her shield. Where it used to be when you hit someone with a slow or knock up, Janna's shield would refund 20% of its cooldown. Now when you slow or knock someone up, Janna gains shielding and healing power, and Glacial Augment scales with shielding and healing power. So let's say both you and a different support have no items, Janna is going to have the stronger Glacial Augment thanks to her built-in kit. LittlePants is really a pioneer of Glacial Janna. He tweeted about it months before the actual rework even went live and others picked it up. He uses those tornado tips as well as the slow from Glacial to look for picks throughout the game and make his peeling power that much more substantial. I mean, look how easy his roams can be even at level 2 with the new tornado and Glacial. All you gotta do is charge it up, let it rip, win mid lane for your team. These have literally been some of the most simple and safest roams I've seen, and if he doesn't have to leash at level 1, he could potentially just throw down a tornado from the side brush in the same fashion to win mid in the first few minutes of the game. But even with how powerful Howling Gale is, he maxes this ability last because the only thing that increases when you level it up is how much damage it does. Instead, he's now maxing Janna's shield, or E, and I mean, it's just a shield that gives more AD. Slap it on someone when they're taking poke or about to die, use it to defend your towers. It's not much different to how you'd use it if you were playing something like Lulu. And unlike Janna's Q, its cooldown scales with level alongside the AD it gives. That just leaves one more ability, Janna's W or Zephyr, which he maxes second. Also locked at a 12-second cooldown like Janna's Q, Zephyr had its damage heavily nerfed as well, but what it lost in cooldown and power, it's gained in utility. Zephyr's slow when used on an enemy now lasts 33% longer, which is good because it sets up LittlePants for even easier knockups throughout the game. It's kind of like Janna's only version of a combo, and it's really just a 1-2 punch of using W to slow the enemy and then quick casting your Q to knock the enemy up and apply Glacial. These two abilities in conjunction make your tornado, which is already hard to avoid, nearly impossible for enemies now. He doesn't forget that Janna is squishy as hell though, so he's careful when he uses this combo that they have their abilities on cooldown or them as champions as a whole have a poor ability to counterattack. The last part of Zephyr is that it also gives Janna bonus movement speed passively and lets her travel through minions without collision, making his roams and kiting potential that much easier. Throughout the mid game, he prefers to roam with someone if possible like his jungle because while moving towards them, he'll gain even more movement speed from Janna's passive as well. He will really start looking for roams after he gets his ideal early game buy, which is level 1 boots, Dark Seal, and a refillable pot. Janna really doesn't need many items to be a strong champion, but having these three give him some nice sustain with refillable, scalability with Dark Seal, and roaming potential with boots. Looking for roams of course after he backs, while his lane is pushed, or after he transitions into the mid game. In the mid game, he told me he is heavily focused on looking to protect and play towards the win condition on his team, whether that be his ADC or someone else. He is really sticking to that win condition throughout the whole of the mid game, either helping them by knocking up enemies and getting them kills, or peeling for them and making sure they don't die. Assisting him in doing that is his ultimate, or Monsoon. This ability didn't change, it still pushes people back and heals them over the channel time for the same amount it did previously. But now those heal ticks happen twice as often, so it's technically a little better. Aside from being another way to peel enemies off your team and also another way to proc Glacial, the heal it offers when fully channeled is insane. This healing coupled with the extra healing power given through Janna's E passive makes it even more insane, and his passive also adding more healing power to his mythic item Moonstone Renewer makes it even crazier the amount of sustain that Janna can put out in a fight. There are some fancy ways that you can combo her ultimate with tornadoes that LittlePants taught me, but even so he admitted that they're not very practical and mostly there for style. He told me he pulled one of these off in one of his pro games at some point and his team thought he was a god. He told me what you should truly do before you use an ultimate if you have your cooldowns available is use your shield on someone, pop a tornado below yourself, and then start the channel. You can't use any abilities or move during Janna's ultimate or it will cancel itself, but reactivating your tornado doesn't count. So if someone's coming at you, you can then reactivate that tornado to protect yourself and buy time for you to be done channeling. Once you are done channeling the ultimate, your shield should already be off cooldown for you to use it once again. He uses all those techniques in teamfights too when channeling his ultimate, and above all, he's staying very much in the back of a teamfight. Not as far back as when we did the Zillion support video, but behind whichever carry he is trying to protect. A dead Janna is a bad Janna, so he kites around, stays safe, and tries to peel for his carries as much as possible. With a well-placed ultimate, he could potentially heal away a lot of punishment his team has taken from enemies or an objective to refresh them and give them a second wind in teamfights. For his build, he starts every game with a Spell Thief's Edge. After that, he'll ideally have 850 gold for his first buy so he can buy his level 1 boots, a refillable pot, and a Dark Seal. From there, he'll rush his level 2 boots, always getting Boots of Lucidity. Next, he'll get his first completed item in Moonstone Renewer, or if they have a healing support, he'll instead get a Chemtech Putrifier. For his fourth item, he'll buy whatever he didn't buy previously. His games don't normally go this long, but if they do and he hasn't died a lot, he may convert his Dark Seal into a Magi's, get a Redemption, or maybe an Ardent Sensor if he has a strong auto attacker on his team. If the game goes long or he needs some more oomph in his build, he'll buy an Elixir of Sorcery, and for his sixth item, throughout the whole game, like a good support does, he buys Control Wards and maybe a Wardstone if the game goes very late. For his runes, he takes Glacial Augment, perfect timing for a free stopwatch, Biscuit Delivery for more sustain in lane, and Time Warp Tonic for some burst heal and some more movement speed. For his secondary runes, he's been running mostly Taste of Blood and Relentless Hunter, but has also started experimenting with Bone Plating and Revitalize as well. Regardless of which secondary page he brings, he's always bringing 1 attack speed, 1 adaptive force, and 1 defensive rune depending on his lane opponents. Janna support works well with aggressive ADCs like Caitlyn or Draven, or aggressive APCs like Karthus or Syndra. Janna support struggles against hook supports like Pyke or Thresh, or long-range poke supports like Xerath or Karma. Thanks guys for checking out this video. I really do heavily suggest you go check out LittlePants on either Twitter or Twitch. That guy's trying to make ends meet and he is amazing at the game. And if you like this video, I heavily suggest you check out our last support guide on Malphite support. See you guys next time. Peace.